How I teach teenagers about credit. Hi, I'm Tasha Danielle, founder of Financial Garden. Welcome to Financial Garden's YouTube channel, where we provide tips for parents to begin having those money conversations with their children, tweens and teens, as well as provide basic financial literacy tips for adults. If you haven't done so, be sure you're subscribed to our channel so you can get more videos like this, and become a financial gardener by clicking the link in the description to receive newsletters from us. You will begin to learn how to plant financial seeds for yourself and for your children. Let's dig into this video's topic: how I teach teenagers about credit. Credit scores can be a very complex thing to learn. In fact, a lot of adults don't truly understand how a credit score is calculated, the impacts that late payments have to their credit score, what it takes to build a solid credit score, and it's because it is a pretty complex way of calculating an important score that follows someone around forever that is set up by 3 bureaus. So all in all, this topic should be taught to teenagers, because when they turn 18, they will be able to get student loans, but they won't be able to buy a house. But that's a whole nother story. But they will begin to start to build credit at the age of 18, or if you haven't done so, by adding them on as a authorized user to your credit cards. And I want to walk you through how I teach high school students about this. First, I don't go in with explaining like what a score is per se, as far as like how it's calculated, like saying late payments is 30% of the score, and inquiries and credit utilization and all that stuff and history. I don't go into how a score is calculated. I explain the why. Like, why should they care about this score, and when will they get a score generated or calculated for them? Starting there is the first step. So number one is explaining that there is a 3-number score that is going to follow them around forever when they become 18. And at some point or another, it will begin to be calculated and generated for them once they start doing certain types of transactions. When I explain that a 3-digit score is going to follow them around forever, they're like, my GPA, my 2.52, my 3.65, like that's going to follow me around forever? And I'm like, no. I'm talking about a credit score. And it's usually a deer in headlights look like, what is a credit score? And I explain basically it's a score that's calculated to see how well you are at managing debt, and if you can keep your promise with managing debt and credit, like credit cards, I per se, which is still debt, but I give them the example of like credit cards, student loans, a loan, like how responsible they are with this. And they're like, okay, like a credit score, like I'm still not understanding it. So I ask, have you ever loaned money or school supplies or clothes or books or whatever to a friend that you would never loan them anything else again? And usually like everyone raises their hand. They're like, yes, I definitely have a friend or two in my life that I will never loan anything to. And I'm like, why? They have all types of examples: because the person never paid them back, or they returned it, and whatever they borrowed, they returned it and it wasn't in the same condition that they loaned it to them in, and the list goes on. And I go, exactly. So a credit score is similar to that friend that you want to determine if you want to loan something to them or not. That is what a credit score does, is determining your likelihood of being a responsible adult when it comes to your finances. Like, that is the best layman's term that I can give them when explaining a credit score. And they're like, okay, the government gives me this score? Like, who gives me this score? How do I get this score? Like, at what age? And I explained to them that number two, A credit score can start to be established for someone before the age of 18, but usually it begins at the age of 18. It can happen before the age of 18 if a parent adds a child onto their credit card as an authorized user, and that will begin to generate a credit profile. But if not, everyone starts off with like no score until they work to build a score. And this is done or calculated by 3 bureaus: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. At this point, I have begun to lost them because they're like, who are these companies? What is it? This other stuff. So I'm stopping and answering questions. So if we think about this with your team that you have, I want you to start that conversation the same way. Hey, do you know a 3-digit number that's really important to you when you become an adult that will follow you around for the rest of your life? And it really has a big impact on like a lot of things. They probably will not know. And then you can explain to them like I just did, like ask them an example of borrowing and walk them through that, and then explain the credit score. Just how I did, right? That I do with my students. Now, explaining something to someone and actually seeing if they can apply this and fully understand it are 2 different things. So again, they know that if their parent added them onto their credit card, there's a way that they can start to generate a credit score before the age of 18, or even if their parent decided to do it after it, they know that can happen. Now you may say, I don't want to add my child to my credit card, and I'm not. Still explain to them that is a way that can happen. That is a way for them to build credit. Now, I do explain to teenagers the range of a score, and that is 300 to 850. The higher the score, the better. And a person can actually get a credit score without trying to establish credit. And I explain that when you are able to get student loans out, if you decide not to pay those student loans back, it will get reported to the credit bureau and you have late payments. Before you can even start generating positive things, a negative report can go to your credit. If a person has stolen their identity as a minor, which happens, and I encourage you to look in the description box and check your minor's credit report to make sure that hasn't happened. A person could have gotten utilities in their name, like a gas or light bill in their name, and they could also be starting off on the wrong foot. No positive information reported, but negative. And now they have like this crazy credit score, like this 300 credit score already before they've been able to establish anything. So that is something that I explain to really drive the point home on what it really means to have a good credit score or a bad credit score or average credit score. We do an activity. And the activity that we do is looking at what it would look like if you wanted to buy a car with a 300 score, 400 score, 650 score, and an 850 score, like, or some type of range. Like I pick poor, average, good, and excellent credit score, and I show them like what it would look like for payments. But I don't show them, I have them work through an exercise. And if you want to get a copy of that exercise that you can work through with your teenager, be sure to click the link in the description box and it will be emailed to you. But this activity is really good because it's not just you talking to them, but it's them working through an exercise and really seeing the impact of how much more money they will pay with a bad credit score. And having them understand that first and foremost will be more impactful as I go through and explain to them how to establish good credit and how it is when you want to dispute bad things being on your credit, like walking through that whole process. It will be way more impactful once they understand truly the day-to-day impact on their lives if they don't have a good credit score. If I do happen to have 18-year-olds in my class, because obviously there can be some 18-year-olds in high school their senior year, I encourage them to pull their credit report, and I actually walk them through how to pull their credit report and look to see what's on there. And if your teenager is 18 and you're like, okay, I want to really teach them the basics, you should have them pull their credit report as well. And you can do that by going to annualcreditreport.com. This is the only way to get your official free credit report and walk them through that report. And if you are stuck on how to walk them through that report, there are some probes on the website that will explain a lot. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them below in the comment section. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to share with your friends who have teenagers or who are like trying to figure out how to have this conversation. That's not that hard, right? I'll see you in the next video. Bye.